2. Let me first introduce my esteemed panel tonight. Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt joining me, former DGMO and DG of the Indian Space Association. Also joining me, Air Marshal R.G.K. Kapoor, ex-Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Central Air Command. Major Gaurav Arya, Editor Chanakya, Defence and Strategic Affairs expert. Joining me in the studios tonight, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at the IPCS and Strategic Affairs enthusiast. Joining me, Dr. Anand Ranganthan, author, scientist, political commentator, Pakistan commentator now. Also in our studios tonight, and the only man outside the studios, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF, joining this panel. Going across to the top breaking news coming up, we will reveal to you how Pakistan pushed its luck. Tonight on the news, we focus on how India told Pakistan categorically after striking the 9 terror hideouts that it was not interested in escalating further. They called up, they informed, they conveyed that we had only one objective, which is to take action on terror. We've destroyed 9 of these hideouts. We are not interested in any further escalations. Message sealed and delivered. Yet, Pakistan didn't quite get the message. They pushed their luck, and they pushed their luck forward in India, trying somehow or the other to inflict pain. Their drones came in one after the other. Their missiles came in one after the other. LOC firing escalated. Gurdwaras were destroyed. Temples were destroyed, as well as civilians were targeted in those villages around the LOC. 14 civilians were killed. There were at least 2 army BSF men who were killed. And that was what Pakistan did on that day of 7th. Pushing the envelope, taking action, and India was not going to sit back and watch what Pakistan was doing. But Pakistan did what it had to, and India responded. India responded attacking Lahore, air defense systems, Sialkot and Rawalpindi, clearly showing if you move, we will respond. If you try and inflict any damage on our military operations, we will do the so. If you target our civilians, we will do the same. This would be the plan of action. And Major Gaurav Arya, Pakistan pushed its luck. We should have known, but clearly Pakistan was given a chance. Message was conveyed. We are not interested in any escalation. We have not targeted any military installations. We have targeted terror hideouts. You didn't do it in 15 days. That was the time given to you. We are doing it. Yet Pakistan pushed its luck because they thought they had the backing of China and Turkey.
Good evening, Navika, and thank you for inviting me. The problem with Pakistan is that it's always pushing its luck. Whether it is 1965, 71, Kargil, there is a certain pattern to it, and it is not just about external help that Pakistan will obviously get. It's also a mindset issue. They feel that they can get away with such kind of behavior. And this is exactly this kind of, pushing the envelope sort of a thing that Pakistan always does. Came in for punishment this time, and I've heard of a lot of Pakistani commentators, many of them balanced, and even they were saying that they were not expecting this sort of a response. Perhaps a Balakot, perhaps a surgical strike, perhaps a mix of both. But hard points going all the way to Karachi, Rawalpindi. This is something that was beyond the imagination of the Pakistanis. And let truth be told here, Navika, the thing is that Pakistan will do this again. Unfortunately, this I'm saying on your show, if we think that Pakistan has learned its lessons, no, Pakistan will do this again. There will be a terror attack in India somewhere down the future. Maybe Pakistan will hold on for 6 months or a year. But it's going to happen. There is too much of pressure from China. There is too much of pressure from other powers that don't want to see India rise. And this is going to happen. It's just the way it is. It is going to happen, and India must be prepared to take punitive action against the Pakistanis. And I would also like to add, Navika, that, we are mostly reactive. Operation Sindoor was launched after Pahalgam. we must not be, and I'm not talking about war, but we must be in a state of at least attrition with Pakistan at all times. So you don't stop the Indus Water Treaty once Pahalgam happens. You see, we must decide, is Pakistan an enemy country or a friendly country? Because in Pakistan, the relationship has to be binary. There are no shades in between. There are no shades of grey. It's either black or white, and we must have a clear-cut understanding. If Pakistan is the enemy, then we must try and break all contact with Pakistan, and punishing Pakistan, and here I'm not saying militarily, I'm saying otherwise. There are so many ways, this all-of-government approach that people talk about so much. This punishing of Pakistan must be constant, it must be consistent, it must be every single day. You can't have Pakistani actors coming into India, you can't have Indians playing cricket matches with Pakistanis, even in Dubai. You can't have trade happening even through a third country. You can't have all these things all the while they're killing our citizens. So we must make up our minds. This constant state of conflict with Pakistan is what I'm talking about, and I certainly don't mean all-out war. I think there are so many other non-kinetic options that we must exercise regularly, Navika.
Well, I want to get in Sushant Sareen. Sushant Sareen, is Pakistan the 7th of May? Was it because it was alone and it was very brave, or was it because it was being egged on? Is also something that we will need to evaluate. Where do you stand on that particular question that we often don't address, is the elephant in the room?
Navika, before I come to your question, I just have a small query from my friend Gaurav. You know, he mentioned some moment of magnanimity is just trying to be somewhat charitable to them. But because I haven't seen this endangered species anywhere, so I might be missing something. On your question, Navika, look, we really have no solid evidence. We can conjecture that the Pakistanis were put up to it either by the Chinese or by some other power. But we really have no solid evidence on this, except conjectures, number one. Number two, I think we underestimate the stupidity of the Pakistanis to do something on their own in the belief that there will be their partners and their friends and their brotherly countries higher than Himalayas, etc., who will come to their assistance. Now, I think the first part has certainly been proven true, that they carried out this operation, partly because I don't think they really expected the kind of response that came their way. And even whatever retaliation they expected from India, I don't think the magnitude of the attack which happened from India, and then the fact that India was ready to climb up the escalation ladder to a point where within 3.5-4 days we had decimated a large part of their air defense systems and even their air infrastructure. I don't think they ever expected that. Frankly speaking, even I didn't expect that, quite honestly. So I think they have this habit of getting into a situation and then, as they say in Punjabi, hun ki kara, because now I'm at a dead end. So something like that has happened. The second thing is the other assumption. I think largely from what we are learning, the Chinese kept a more or less hands-off approach. Again, you can add two and two together and say, okay, fine, now that the western border seems to be cooling down, suddenly the Chinese have done something provocative by, announcing some new names in Arunachal, stuff like that. This is the standard Chinese playbook, they keep doing that. But in terms of the actual, helping them or trying to put pressure on us on the eastern front so that to distract us from the western front, we haven't seen any evidence of that. The Turks were giving rubbish to Pakistan. I wish they keep giving their rubbish to Pakistan. I would be very happy with it. But I think the Turks, to some extent, did come to the Pakistani assistance. But who else? Azerbaijan is a third-rate country. How does it even matter? It doesn't even count. They have been trying to sell oil to Pakistan. The Pakistanis don't even have money to pay for their oil, right? They have no way to bring that oil also. So Azerbaijan is neither here nor there. But which other country really came to their assistance? Yes, to some extent, you could say that the Americans, either they were convinced by the Pakistanis or whatever, and they tried to come in between and say that, okay, guys, maybe you guys need to back off from each other. But I think the Indian message to the Americans was very clear. We never wanted to escalate. We were only going after the terrorists. It's the Pakistani army which intervened. So we've hit the Pakistani army because they intervened. They intervened the second time, we again hit them. We will keep going after the terrorists if the Pakistan army is not going to clean up its act. That was our position. And if the Pakistan army stops hitting us, we will stop hitting them. That we had made this very clear to the Americans, and we've got it from the highest quarters that this was the messaging to the Americans, right? And the Americans were finally told that if the Pakistanis want firing to stop, then ask them to talk to us and let them stop the firing. It was as simple as that. And when they got a hiding of their life, they called up and sought, to sue for peace, stop firing. And that is what we did. We were ready to do it on the very first day.
Don't run so further in the story, because the chapter 2 has just begun, Sushant Sareen, and how we force them onto their knees is
what your story is, or I just said what I had to say. You can now.
I know. You are firing as quickly as some of our guns fired through those 4 days. But let me tell you, there is the next big breaking that we are going to bring to you is the 90-minute threat that came in from Pakistan. What happened in those 90 minutes is the big question. How Pakistan responded first. Civilian casualties, tried to target our military institutions, installations, and India's round 2 then decimated their air defense systems in Sialkot, in Lahore, as well as in Rawalpindi. But then Pakistan lost its nerve, went running to its big daddies. One big daddy sitting in the United States of America was called and told, we are going to do something very, very big. J.D. Vance, Vice President, United States of America, called Prime Minister Modi. The only one call to Prime Minister Modi was that day on the 8th of May in the morning, after the air defense systems had been decimated by India, that Pakistan lost its nerve and ran running and went to the United States to cry. And when J.D. Vance spoke to Prime Minister gave him just one message. If they hit, we will hit back. Much harder, make no mistake. That was the only exchange. And then do I tell you what happened next, Abhijit Iyer Mitra? You are normally the storyteller, but tonight I have the 90-minute dhamki that came. Pakistan duty officer at the DGMO office conveyed a message that in 90 minutes, Pakistan was going to strike big. That message came in a circuitous route, and the entire team, led by National Security Advisor, asked the Prime Minister the question. This time, they are targeting our air bases, our military installations. The Prime Minister at this stage had only one line to give. And if I can just repeat what I was told, the Prime Minister directed the National Security Advisor, if they use air power and use it against our military targets, you have the free hand to hit anything, any base, any installations. Because till then, the bottom line that had been given was terror camps, nothing else. It was when the 90-minute dhamki came that India did not even waste 1 minute. They went flying and they decimated 13 air bases and installations. The list known by everybody, the list that clearly had its agenda very clear, and the list that included Sargodha, Noor Khan Airport, as well as Rafiki in Shorkot, Murid, Chakwal, Sukur, Sialkot, Pasrur, Chunia, Sargodha, Skardu, Bolari, Jacobabad, and Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Nothing was holding India back because it had come down to dhamkis and targeting Indian installations.
So, the main thing out here is that people are very used to watching the American and Israeli style of warfare. There is not just one way of destroying aircraft or, pinning Air Force down on the ground. There are many ways of doing it, and we showed that at Sargodha. At Sargodha, you bombed both the runways, one right in the middle of the crosshair, and Sargodha is their main F-16 base. You've essentially grounded all their aircraft. The implicit threat was we can pick out your F-16s at will as and when we want. At Bholari, you've gone and taken out the AWACS bunker, which means you've removed their eyes in the sky. At Jacobabad, you've gone and bombed a bunker which could, a hangar which could easily have housed about at least 2-3 fighters. Now, we don't have any battle damage assessment from within that. But clearly, this was an extremely high-intensity campaign, but very carefully calibrated, right? We could easily assume about 7 to 8 aircraft. The problem is we've got images of the damage, but we don't have images of the aircraft within this thing. Said, can I?
But let me tell you, let me stop you right there. The big breaking news coming in those strikes at Sargodha, Noor Khan and Jacobabad, the estimate is at least 7 to 8 aircraft, fighter jets of Pakistan have been destroyed. The big breaking news that we're bringing to you on the Newshour tonight, 7 to 8 Pakistani fighter jets have been destroyed. They were parked in their hangars, and Abhijit, those visuals of the hangar destruction are available through satellites, but you don't know how many aircraft were inside. The estimate that Indian agencies have from their intelligence of, as they say, Surte-Hal inside the Pakistani airbase, it is 7 to 8, minimum of 7 aircraft and a maximum of 8, including the F-16s and the J-10.
But the even more important thing is not the aircraft, but the command center that we bombed at the Noor Khan Air Base. The command center plus the mess where all the technical staff and the pilots had assembled. Because if you go to the pre-photos, you will see these have domes on them, which is the classic sign of a command center. And Noor Khan is located between Rawalpindi and Islamabad. So it's literally like bombing, say, South Delhi, which lies between Noida and Gurgaon kind of thing in an Indian context. So that was an extremely important thing that happened. I don't think we can underestimate the psychological damage of hitting their capital, the suburb of their capital, their crown jewel in the entire arsenal out there. They're two big crown jewels. Sargodha and Noor Khan were hit. Can you imagine the psychological impact? Finally, Navika, if you'll allow me, I need to come back to a misconception that Sushant Sareen has spread. He himself recommended Qamar Chima and Shireen Mazari to follow on Twitter as highly credible sources coming out of Pakistan. So I certainly thank Sushant Sareen for pointing me to credible sources. I do agree with him. Qamar Chima and Shireen Mazari are both highly credible.
Well,
this is typical of Abhijit's scurrilous allegations against me, but I'll deal with him later.
Thankfully, right now we have Pakistan, China and Turkey to deal with. So just hold on for a bit. 7 to 8 aircraft being destroyed. How big is that? And the fact that Pakistan tested our nerve, they pushed their luck. I want to ask you, Air Marshal Kapoor, what does this mean in terms of the successes? Because nobody in India is going to say India succeeded, at least in the opposition. Nobody in Pakistan is going to say that. I want to ask you, 7 to 8 planes in their hangars, if they are destroyed, what does this mean?
See, Pakistan prides itself in its air force, they say. And the strategic messaging, what Abhijit covered just now in Noor Khan, Sargodha, Rafiki, these are their crown jewels. I mean, there cannot be nothing more important than these 3 air bases, primarily Noor Khan being the command and control center. And if you see those images, you could see those 2 long trucks which are their mobile command posts. And they are kind of things which are used for all command and control which goes on from the headquarters or from the bunkers or from the ops rooms. Now, all these hangars, at all times, no Air Force has got 100% aircraft which are serviceable and flying. And so there are a lot of aircraft which are inside the hangar, which are undergoing servicing, which are undergoing rotation or maintenance and things like that. So when you strike Jacobabad, when you strike Bholari, and I would have been even happier if we had struck the commander's, combat school in Sargodha, that would have sent even a bigger strategic message that we are hitting your brain, because that is the brain of Pakistan Air Force. And so these cause a major dent. 7 or 8 aircraft, when you say there are about 17, 18 or 20 squadrons in Pakistan Air Force, may not be very big. But when you see the type of aircraft, if it is true that Bholari had the AEWNC when we struck, that's a big dent. You're just taking out their eyes. Primarily when we took out their air defenses, it was a very orchestrated counter-air campaign where you're doing the suppression of enemy air defense, because you want to create a corridor when you can go inside without being threatened. And similarly, Jacobabad, which is their prime F-16 base, which is the latest F-16s, the F-16 CDs are there. And so the number of those F-16s gone is a big problem for them. And so it is not only the number of aircraft, I think it is more to do with strategic messaging that was there than just number of aircraft. And what I want to highlight also is, Pakistan learnt a lot of lessons from Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Israel, Hamas, in terms of that's how they got all these drones together. All these drones were primarily to not only saturate our air defenses, to test our air defense, and to try and see how impregnable these air defenses are. So that, they could counter us. Because if you see, every time Balakot, retaliation was there. It is in their genes, it's in their DNA to retaliate. Whether they succeed or they don't succeed is a different question.
Well, let me also tell you at this point, and that is the big breaking news, and Anand Ranganthan, hear this carefully. The Prime Minister told them take action of a kind that the big threat, the dhamki, the 90 minutes countdown that they had said, they said that this means Pakistan should not be allowed to put the nuclear payload, because nuke, hamare paas nuke hai, hamare paas nukes hai, hamare paas nukes hai, is the only line that they have always used. The Prime Minister's bottom line was they should not be able to load their nukes on their planes. Do what you have to. That was the order that was given, and that's why the decimation happened of the air bases. 7 to 8 aircraft, big losses for Pakistan. And let me ask you, Anand Ranganthan, wo jo Kirana store hai, the entrance of that, Tom Cooper told us, has been affected, the exit has been affected. And is that what was the inflection point in Pakistan's war game?
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to my fellow panelists once again. It merits saying it's an honor and a privilege to be sharing the stage with exalted military professionals and officers. Thank you very much for having me. Whatever time I have been given by you, I want to divide it exactly in 2 halves. The first half, I want to talk about that how, as you talked about, an inflection point was reached, perhaps by Pakistan. But I think more importantly than that, I think we reached an inflection point. I think in the last 20-25 years, Navika, if you were to chart out what Pakistan has been doing very successfully, both prongs of its defense, or rather offense, have been demolished by Prime Minister Modi. What are they? Since Parliament attack of 2001, when it was meticulously corroborated that Pakistan's ISI was behind it, planning, orchestration, the 2008 Mumbai attacks, 26/11 attack, meticulously, that wasn't just the ISI, it was the Pakistani army and intelligence involved in it. Every single time Pakistan got away by saying that these are non-state actors, right? Second, we have the nuclear button. These two were the bluffs. Now, in this time, as Prime Minister Modi said, there is no distinction anymore between state and non-state. There is no distinction. That Rubicon has been crossed. And the other Rubicon that lies in tatters is the nuclear bluff. So these two things have happened. And now it is never ever going to be the same again. Now very quickly, because time is of essence, I come to the second part. what Gaurav said, and I completely agree with him. I think Abhijit also corroborated that. They are going to come back. It is in their DNA. They are a terror state. There is no distinction anymore between state and non-state. Now that they are going to come back, what has Modi done? Let me tell you, this is the thing about Prime Minister Modi. Every time when you think he's just made his greatest decision ever, every couple of years he kind of,
reinvents himself.
Does something else that you think, so, before this, I thought his greatest achievement was vaccinating 1 billion people twice over within a year, saving millions of lives. Before that was the Article 370 abrogation. Please, I say this with all responsibility. The keeping in abeyance of Indus Water Treaty 1960 is Narendra Modi's greatest decision ever. And I've thought about it. I'm going to write about it very shortly. Why do I say this? Because for the first time, we have a definite handle on going forward to maintain peace in the region. It is in one stroke, it has corrected one of the greatest Nehruvian blunders in history. The other obviously was Article 370 that Modi abrogated. The second correction of Nehruvian blunders has been done. Now why do I say this? We now have left the onus on Pakistan. You behave and we will keep the Indus waters flowing. You misbehave, you come after us, the tap is off. The tap on off is for peace, not war, and that is Modi's greatest achievement, Navika.
And now